I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. All I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. But I am asking your help in the tremendous task of informing and alerting the American people.
And now, welcome to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. Here's your host from federaljack.com. It's Popeye.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live edition. It's October 24th, 2013. Tonight, I'm going to be getting into a quite contentious subject. And rather than have me come on here for 2 hours and just rant and have it come across, because perception is everything, I wouldn't want it to come across, even if no matter how hard I tried not to, it wouldn't matter. Somebody would say something and it would detract from it. And I'm trying to remove as many of the straw man or red herring type arguments from this conversation as we can. So rather than go on and rant about my topic tonight by myself, I wanted to do a show about this. Actually, for a while I've been wanting to do this. And I wanted to do it with the one person that I know who is a Christian, who I could sit down and talk to and won't try to burn me at the stake, because for some reason most Christians that I talk to about this, and other religious denominations, seem to think that I don't believe in God or anything like that.
The power of Christ compels you.
Right.
The power of Christ compels you.
Exactly. No matter how many times I try to talk about this. So what will I be talking about tonight is religion and science, and I want to talk about it with my good friend Joe Joseph. Joe,
yes. Thank you so much. Yes,
if you all couldn't already tell,
you inspired me on Tuesday as that 4-hour marathon. I just
Well, I'm glad that that came together like this, because I've been bugging you for a couple months to do this show.
Well, not only that, but I mean, how coincidental that Chuck Baldwin comes on my show tonight to talk about the same thing too, in regards of like seeing past ideologies to defend freedom. Because if you don't defend freedom, come together to defend freedom and liberty, then you can't have your ideologies. Because you're only going to have the ideologies they want you to have.
Exactly.
How easy is that?
Which is,
it doesn't get any easier than that.
One simple ideology, their way or the highway.
And Chuck Baldwin's a Christian. Okay, so what? I don't like to call myself a Christian, but I am.
To me, that just labels people.
It does. It's a label, and I don't like it. It puts you in a box.
But the reason I had to have this conversation with you is because you still, I would say I don't want to say religious, because religion itself has a bad name, but you know what I mean.
I'm not religious. I'm spiritual.
Okay, but you believe in Jesus Christ. You
Absolutely.
would consider yourself to be a Christian? Yes, I guess, somewhat.
I'm a believer.
Okay, right, that's fine. Well, that'll do. Okay. The point is, I wanted to have this conversation with somebody that wasn't, atheist or, wouldn't
Absolutely.
hate on religion.
I'm certainly not atheist.
Right. Because I'm not, again, the perception is always whenever I talk about this, that I must have never read the Bible and I must be evil and everything else. I don't think people understand. My mother and father were deacons, okay? Yes, my mother was a Christian eventually, yes, and there was Judaism involved in there too, but the Judaism was really my grandmother, not really my mom. I've explained all this. But anyway, religious-wise, my parents were deacons. I was raised a Christian. I read the Bible through, cover to cover twice.
Hey, man, you don't look like a Christian, though.
I know.
How could you be a Christian? I mean, do you see how stupid that is? Right off the bat, judge. Ah!
Well, I had a born again one time tell me that I had beautiful tattoos, but I was going to burn in hell for them, and I was like, well, at least you think they're nice looking. Yeah, I don't take that stuff personally. I try to actually use when people say things like that. I use it as a chance to engage them in conversation, but I'm not going to bash religion tonight or anything like that. Believe me, I'm a spiritual person. I believe in God. I believe.
This isn't meant to be that.
No, actually, I want people to realize that religion and science actually complement one another. Everybody always thinks there's this huge divide between them.
I want to say, let me clarify that science and spirituality.
Let me rephrase that. Science and spirituality.
Because religion I think.
Yeah.
That's where I don't dig it.
Yeah, well, see, there's a difference. I believe that there's a creator. I don't believe that, I don't believe that we're meat sacks and we just die and that's it. And people go, well, do you believe in Jesus Christ? I think Jesus was a real guy.
I like that term. I'm going to use that from now. I'm a meat sack.
Well, that's what some people, I guess, would think that we are. We're just sacks of meat that we just exist here. Meat. But, I believe Jesus was a real dude. I think his message was hijacked by the Roman Catholic Church, which was at the time the Roman Empire,
Yeah.
And the Roman Empire morphed into the Roman Catholic Church. I understand things on a different level, maybe, where I look at it. I don't want to say I understand things because that makes it sound like I'm I'm better than I just look at it differently, I guess.
Pujo just weighed in and he just said, that his pastor's line is, Jesus didn't come here to start a religion. He came here to start a relationship. Now that's deep.
Well, deep. It is.
Think about that, because one of the biggest misguided lines that you'll ever hear in the Bible, the Catholic Church is built on this one statement. So here's Jesus, right? And he's standing there with Peter, and he's like, "What up, Pete? What's going on, man? Yeah, upon this rock, build my church." Oh, yeah, well, now all of a sudden the Catholics are like, yeah, right here, upon this rock, right here. Dude, I mean, one of the biggest, baddest, I don't even want to call it a translation. It's scam, like the earliest form of snake oil salesman out there. And so you have this. He wasn't saying upon the physical rock. He's saying upon me. I'm the rock. Upon me build the church, not upon a flippin' rock. And, oh, yeah, by the way, have this opulent Vatican with wealth upon anybody's wildest imagination. Let's just repress everybody's. You know how much...
Doesn't that go against his belief? Doesn't that go against Jesus' beliefs, supposedly, though?
Of course it does.
So then, doesn't anybody ever question that? That's what this is the kind of stuff that...
Jesus was all about opulence and flipping crimson robes and...
These were the conversations that got me in trouble as a child.
Why?
Well, because luckily, my parents and my father, even though he's religious, and my mother, I don't want to say my father's religious. He's not really super religious, but I guess he's spiritual. He believes in Jesus and everything, but he's not.
Maybe more traditional, would you say?
Yeah, maybe more like old school traditional. I guess.
Yeah, like a traditional, like a lot of Roman Catholics today are that because it's tradition, because mom and dad did that, and their family before them.
Well, thank God my family's not Catholic. Oh, God. No, I have to give credit. I think it was my great-great-grandfather. I've told the story on air. My great-great-grandmother wouldn't kiss the bishop's ring, and they beat the crap out of her.
Yes!
And tossed her out of the church.
As well they should.
Grandpa went back and had a chat with them, and then we were no longer, or great-grandpa went back and had a chat with them, and we were no longer Catholics after that. My father has no use for Catholics either, but he would consider himself a Christian. My parents were deacons.
That's not to say that Catholics are bad people.
Well, no, I don't think anybody that follows the religion per se, if someone goes, see, that's
all part of that. That's all part of that judgment.
Well, that's a straw man argument.
Right.
When people say, "Oh, if you don't like a religion, you're attacking everybody that follows that religion." No, that's a straw man argument, which is then it leads people into appeal to emotion because now people are like, "Oh my God, you're attacking me." No, and no. I'm trying to tell you that the people that run things and tell you whatever you're told, are lies, okay? And I'm not making fun of you for believing it. Look, I believe in a higher power too. I think that it's a form of control and prison, personally. And it's not that I think, I can see it. I know. Religious institutions are just like all these other governmental institutions or any institution used to control people. I don't see any reason why you need to have some putz dressed in some ornate costume wearing gold to be between you and Jesus. I mean, these bishops literally think they're like the vicar of Christ. And, like, dude, step out of the way. I don't need gold and everything else to talk to God. Nobody else does either. That's why I have these conversations.
Yes.
And by the way, it doesn't mean I bash anybody for their personal religious beliefs either.
Of course not.
I respect everybody's personal religious belief. I will never bash you as an individual. I will tell you what I know from research, and I will tell you my analysis of it, and if that pisses you off, then so be it. It's not an attack on you.
Popeye.
Yes.
The Jews did it, Popeye.
Oh, God, yeah, I know.
It was the Jews.
You're Jew Joseph.
I know I am, and because of that, I did it.
Right, well, that's another straw man argument.
Of course it is.
And people,
let's just lump them all together.
Well, that's attacking another religious group. And look, honestly, I think all religions, all of them, all of these mainstream religions, doesn't matter, Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, all of them, I think Buddhism to a certain extent, I wouldn't lump it in with the main three because Buddhism is a little bit different, but like they're all used as mind prisons. I mean, do any of these major religions, do you ever notice you always have to go and there has to be some intermediary between you and God? Why? Why does there have to be an intermediary? If God is all-knowing and omnipotent and all around us, why do you need some intermediary? Why can't you just talk to him on your own terms?
'Tis a very good question. That's what many of the reformers said as they burned at the stake.
Seriously, like why do you have to go to him?
That's blasphemy, Popeye.
Yeah, well, because I believe in that's what I'm getting at. That thinking of, oh my God, even being able to think like that is blasphemy.
That's blasphemous.
You know what spurred this whole thing? Was the post I posted the other day?
Yes, yeah. What did spur that?
Well, I'm tired of being told over the course of time that I'm going to burn in hell.
The hate mail.
Yes. Well, I'm tired of being told, but people assume that I've never read the Bible or
but you are going to burn in hell.
All right, well, we're all in hell already.
Exactly. We're burning right now.
We're here, okay? You're here with me. I don't think
that's right.
It can't get much worse than this.
Oh, never say that.
Well, okay.
Never say that. I said that too many times. How many times? Oh, man, it can't possibly get any worse than this here Bush fella. Woo!
No, I mean, if hell-wise, I would say that we're, everybody's like always afraid of some mystical hell place that you're going to go and you're going to burn. My views are totally different. From the time I was a little kid, I always viewed that we were here to learn, and that we're here, we're here to experience things and learn from those experiences. And you should do good and things like that. I mean, my parents taught me a lot of good things, and it's not that it's not bashing the message of, say, Jesus, right, or the message. Right. I'm going after the people that have hijacked. It's like, think about it. The Tea Party was started by people that were in the Fedders and Ron Paulers, and it got hijacked by the neocons. And now, every time the right wing gets pissed off about something, it's them Tea Party a-holes. They're racist. The message got hijacked, and of course that's got its own different levels of reasons why. But it just goes to show you that messages can be hijacked by the wrong individuals, and
of course,
people will follow blindly because they just see the message. They don't see the chicanery and the deception that's going on behind the scenes, with the people that are controlling it. I mean,
chicanery.
Personally, and this message pisses people off when I say this, or at least this statement. I think Jesus was more like a pot-smoking truther. I think he was just going around trying to tell people to love one another, be good to each other, and take care of one another. And there's a different way to look at things. He was getting people to think outside the box. And they couldn't have that because that posed a threat. And they also, at the same time, the Roman Empire realized that they were falling and that they were done, and they had to morph. So they took his message and they morphed it into what you consider today to be the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, the Roman Empire never fell; it's still there, and it's not just them too. There's the problem is, I think it's more. I know there's got to be some biological thing to it inside the brain somewhere, but people really get into the ideology of it. You're gonna. People tell me because I believe aliens exist, you're gonna burn, Popeye. Those aliens don't exist; they're just demons.
I gave you the Bible verse itself in your little thread, exactly where you can find it.
Oh, I know, it's all the way at the bottom.
It's there, but it's there.
Like comment 280 or whatever.
Yeah, but still, it's all there. I mean, go read it. The Bible tells you all you need to know. Is there life out there? Of course there is.
I think it would be ignorant for us to think that, and I mean, not only ignorant, but how arrogant are we that we think that there's this omnipotent being that created the magnificent, amazing thing that is the human body, which it is. I mean, if you looked at it, the nervous system, everything else, and then all these different creatures around us and nature itself and the planet. Yeah. And, okay, if you believe that he created that, but then stop there. And then we have this huge universe with the sun. I mean, a ball of fire just floating around, and giving off energy. It literally gives us life on this planet, right? Yeah. And he's going to create all that, and here I am saying he, right? Because we anthropomorphize whatever God really is, right? He or she. We don't. I prefer to say it, and that pisses people off. But I really don't want to say he or she because that anthropomorphizes it. That's putting a label on it, right? And a specific sex. But God is omnipotent and creates all of this, but then that's it. Just stops with Earth. All these other planets out there, the universe, galaxies, no, they don't mean anything. And if you think otherwise, you're a heretic. Now, people, if put that way to them, some people will go, well, that just sounds crazy, Popeye. Well, but that's the argument that I get from people. I mean, a couple hundred years ago, we thought the Earth was flat, right? And that you would sail off the corners of it. Well, it turns out the Earth isn't flat, and you won't sail off the corners of it. So, I mean, I don't think it's a big deal to question if we're alone in the universe, and that if I do question that God's going to come down and strike me dead and smite me. I mean,
you know what gave me kind of like a different perspective on things, especially as far as trying to understand God, is that last documentary that you played on there about quantum physics and how the laws, when you deal with quantum physics and you start talking about different dimensions and different types of subatomic particles and how they behave and everything like that, you come to find out that life as we know it is like an extremely small, minute piece of the larger puzzle. I mean, tiny. It's unbelievable how these particles interact, what they do, how they just like bounce from one place to another without ever knowing. They're in and out of our time continuum and all, yada, 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 right? But it shows you just how stuck we are. It's almost like, and this is the way I see it, because I believe that the force that created us, God, is at the very least an interdimensional being of some sort. And if that's the case, he created us and stuck us here. Now, a lot of the other life that exists may not exist the way that we do. Maybe they too are interdimensional in some way, shape, or form. But we're stuck here in this little reality. But if you look at the subatomic level, those particles act differently than we are. Like, for example, like in an electron and all that. You remember that, Popeye? How you break it down and the little particles are jumping around all over the place or not?
Well, that's what that's what CERN was doing, the search for the so-called God particle.
Yeah, that Higgs boson particle.
Well,
right.
Everybody's like, oh my God, they're trying to blow up the world, blah, blah, blah. Stop with I don't agree with what they did with the atomic testing and things like that. And if they really could blow something up or cause damage, then maybe they should be careful and take every precaution that they certainly could. And if there is still a great chance, then they shouldn't do it. But what they were trying to do, this God particle, and this is why, because the word God is in there, so they know it's going to infuriate people. What they're trying to do is they call it the God particle because that Higgs boson particle is what binds. It's that particle that binds everything else together. That's why they call it the God particle. But what they don't tell you, they being the mainstream media and people that want to stir up crap on either side, is that a lot of these theoretical physicists are not atheists. In fact, a lot of people that will start looking into quantum mechanics, if they didn't believe in God before, there's a lot of people that you'll hear them say, there has to be something because none of this could happen by chance. Because it's either the two trains of thought are either chance, Big Bang, boof, just, out of nowhere, or some sort of creative force, right? Some sort of higher intelligence, whatever. Sentient force that created us. It's one of the two, right? And it's always this I wonder if it's been done on purpose, but like everything else, but it's always this you have to make a choice, this faux thing of, this illusion of choice where you have to pick one or the other. I think it's, first of all, science. Everybody thinks, well, science is science. Does anybody even understand what science is? Science is the understanding of how things work. That's what science is. It's the understanding of things. So science doesn't fight religion, okay? Although that's the fight that people want you to have framed, right? It's science and religion, one night only. Get your tickets. Like a Mike Tyson event back in the 90s. No, that's not what this is. Science and religion actually, they complement each other. And there's a lot of people that once they start to look into quantum physics, they understand that there's more to it. I mean, there's you can't look at this stuff and be like, oh, it happened by chance. So you know that there's got to be something more there. I mean, it's amazing. It all leads back into each other. So instead of fighting and butting heads and, no, there is no God. Yes, there is. You're going to burn in hell, blah, 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 and fighting back and forth. Why don't we understand that both complement one another? But we have to get rid of the ideologies on either side. The people that are hardcore, there is only science, there is no, nothing else. And then the hardcore religious people on the other end of the spectrum, which are, you're all going to burn in hell. We have to put those things aside. If we want to evolve as humanity, dude, there's no way we're going to get out of this cesspool that we're in. Seriously. It's frustrating. Epically frustrating.
Yeah, epically is
and don't get me wrong, I'm not, again, this isn't, I'm not picking on anybody's religious beliefs. This is why you notice I'm very calm, I'm not yelling or going, I'm trying to present this in a very calm, rational way to people, because I don't want people, this is one of those topics that people get so angry about and fight about, dude, it's ridiculous. Yeah. Honestly, we all have to stop. I understand it's a passion, it's something that everybody's passionate about. I get it. We all feel that, okay? But we have to stop fighting each other over this stuff. Let's just have rational conversations.
Well, I bring this up just like I think that the microcosm known as the 9/11 Truth Movement is such a good picture of this on like that micro scale where it was beams from space, it was controlled demolition, it was the way the government said it, and everybody's bickering over theory, but they don't focus on what they need to focus on, which the thing everybody agrees on, we need a new investigation. So why isn't everybody fighting to attain that goal? Instead, they're all divided over their different ideologies instead of focusing on the common goal to actually get somewhere. Same thing with religion. If you don't focus on the fight for liberty or freedom, you can't have your religion or ideologies, regardless of what you believe in. So that's the issue that we have. And they know that as long as they can keep things polarized, it's like Chuck Baldwin said tonight, he really puts a lot of the blame on the pastors because they're so afraid to lose their 501c3 that they're not going to stand up against the government when it's tyrannical, when it does things that's wrong. They don't call them out on the carpet about it. They just sit back because they want their tax-free
Well, it
status.
goes to show you, and that those guys are that. It's just look. To the government, it's just a tool of control.
Sure,
It's just a mechanism of control to them, and they exploit it. And people need to realize again. If you put your ideologies and I'm not saying you don't have to. I'm not saying, well, does that mean I can't believe in Jesus or God? No. I'm just saying, when someone opens their mouth and you're having a conversation and they say something, don't fly off the handle and start screaming and yelling, "You're going to burn in hell and Jesus and God and blah," because you lose the argument right off the bat. First of all, nobody wants to argue with someone that is coming across like a friggin' lunatic. Okay, that's one. Nobody want, and it works on every different level too. If you're a truth or whatever, you don't want to come across with like what did Lexi Raspatella call it? Truth vomit. You just blah. You don't want to do that with this. That's what happens. I find when you try to talk to somebody about religion too. It's they get emotional and they kind of just vomit on you with a ton of things. We need to put that stuff. Everybody needs to turn off the emotion, and we'll be able to have a relaxed, logical debate. Okay, and I'm not I firm believer that there's obviously some sort of sentient force that created us. I don't think we just popped into existence. But we should be able to have conversations about this without being, telling each other you're going to burn in hell or you're going to die. That's kind of.
That's judgmental. That's exactly what we're not.
We're not going to get anywhere if we keep thinking like that. That's the simple fact. All right, break sneaking up, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We will be right back. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So what started this whole thing, right? I said that there was a post that I put up on Facebook the other day that started this. And this has been going on for a while, but because I talk about different stuff, I talk about, when I do talk about religion, and I talk about, if I talk about my views about the Creator, and my views on aliens or anything else, you'd be surprised at emails I get or comments I get, or even in most of the time, a lot of the time, it's in conversation with people, and it'll always be the same thing. You're on the wrong path. You're going to burn in hell. This, that, the other thing. You're a nice person, but you're being deceived. Blah 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 blah. So. The other day I got tired of because I get frustrated when I think about how humanity is being manipulated and held down, and I understand that the only way we're going to get past any of this and evolve is if we think outside the frigging box, which is why I made that inspirational piece, right? So the other day, October 21st, this was the rant of the day. This is what stemmed off. Let's see, it ended up I think 280 some odd comments on one status update. So, people were kind of pissed. There was different conversations going back and forth. There were people that were, kind of mad at what I said. And then, honestly, most of the people were pretty receptive to what I said and agreed, which I was quite surprised. I thought there was actually going to be a bigger hornet's nest stirred up on that end. But there was, regardless, there were some people that got pissed off, and they took it the wrong way, which I even said in the post that was going to happen. But here, I'll read it to you. It says, rant of the day. Apparently I'm going to hell for my views on aliens and religion. Or so I'm told. So much for an open-minded creator. Seriously, whatever God is, it isn't a judgmental prick. Yours may be, but mine promotes free thought, love, and tolerance. I don't pretend to know what God is, but I have a pretty good so far of what it isn't. I'm tired of people using God's name to do or say whatever they want, whenever they want. No wonder God has a bad rap all over the world. How about you worry about your own souls? Mine is prepared whenever it's my time, because I know in my heart I have always sought to do right. Anyone who knows me would agree. In fact, it's quite insulting to insinuate that none of the good I have done in the past or currently do means a thing. For real. I have literally saved people's lives before. Doesn't that count? Guess not. No, I do not think I will burn in hell for asking questions, having an open mind, seeking truth, and not being arrogant or ignorant enough to think we are all there is in the vast universe or multiverse. I felt like sharing my thoughts and getting yours. What do you think? I'm sure at least one person will take this post the wrong way and say I'm attacking God or some other straw man argument like that. Couldn't be further from the truth. Anyway, feel free to comment below. And comment they did. And it definitely spurred up, it's like literally kicking a hornet's nest. And people really, really got fired up over it. Like I said, I would say probably about 70%, 75% at least of the comments were in agreement. Actually, probably more than that. Were in agreement with the way I looked at it. And which goes to show me that, this kind of stemmed from a bit of a social experiment. I was pissed off by the subject, and I wanted to see if I could get people to actually have a conversation, and it worked. And it was actually somewhat civilized. There wasn't too much yelling and screaming going back and forth, but there still was a tad bit.
I was surprised at how effective that was at garnering attention. Well,
this is the way I was. I was up. I was sitting here working on some stuff, and like I said, I think about 8 different things. My brain works about 100 miles an hour while I'm working on other things, right? So I'm thinking about this stuff, and I finally got fed up, dude. I'm so tired of there being this level of, you have to stop questioning after a certain line, because if you go beyond that line, you're gonna, it's blasphemy or whatever. Just stop it. Stop it. That's what's keeping us in this box. Do you not understand that? That kind of thinking is keeping us in the freaking box. God would not have given us free thought if we weren't supposed to use it.
Exactly. Everything that society says, or that the social norm is totally backwards from what it should be. And as long as people don't understand that, then, we're doomed to stay enslaved. It doesn't matter if you live in America, the freest country on the planet. Oh, no, it's not. No, it's not. Not anymore. Not by a long shot.
Well, that's the thinking, dude. This is why I say all the time, we're not going to solve any problems by, thinking, trying to solve pull a solution out of the same level of thinking that created the problem. Because you're not gonna get a good solution. It's gonna be this circular thing which is what we've had throughout history, right? Good, bad,
Absolutely.
Good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad, good, bad. Maybe we need to stop, working with what we have inside this tiny little box and step up and go, oh, damn, there's a lot more stuff here in this warehouse to play with.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But you can't have that, though. It's just kind of like, why don't we have hover cars? We could.
Well, see, in order to have something like that, you'd have to have a more intelligent society. Because you couldn't have a dumbed down society like you do now. People can't even handle 4 tires on the ground. So, but again, one of the reasons I don't think, to me, when people say why don't we have hover cars, I see that as a symptom of society's retardation. That's why we don't have hover cars. It's got nothing to do with the fact that, it does to a certain extent. They're blocking things, they're suppressing it, right? But they're suppressing it is also retarding your thinking. Because if you had that technology it given to you, look what the general public did with the internet. Right? They took the internet, and it wasn't the government that made the internet how awesome it is today.
No, they just laid the foundation. That right. Was just
It was them and CERN. They took the ARPANET and the World Wide Web, merged it together, and they made CERN. Well, they took the World Wide Web, merged it with DARPA's ARPANET. They created what we know today as the internet, But it was just a foundation. That was like they laid a concrete pad and said, here, you guys build something off this. And then all these civilians came in, these regular people like you and me, they all came in and just, made this massive dynamic thing. And of course now they realized, that wasn't really a good idea. So we're going to take that back. It gets frustrating, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, when I think about, the ideologies that people get caught up in. And it doesn't it's not just, whenever you talk about religion, people think that you are instantly bashing Christianity. And I know why. Because in the media, the only thing you ever see is religion equals Christianity. right? So then when people think of religion, what's the first thing they think of? Christianity. Oh, those crazy Christians, those crazy right-wingers. Well, there's a reason the media only focuses on certain people. Like, why do people like that D-bag pastor from Gainesville that wants to burn Korans? How come he gets the media attention? Because he is what most people would consider the hardcore right-wing extremist Christians, right? That's what they would say that he's like. And if you think of Christians, that's what people, they get this mental picture of him, Terry Jones, this D-bag pastor, right? He doesn't represent everybody, but that's the media focuses on that. And then and then when you try to engage somebody in a conversation,
well, they always go for extreme, that extreme example.
Of course they do. And then when you engage someone, like say you were hardcore whatever, right? And right-wing Christian. And I said to you, we were having this conversation, you started to get all fired up, and you just hate Christianity. It's because they're already when it comes to their religion, they're already in defense mode because of all the other crap that's out there. So I understand that too. It's very hard to have a conversation with someone when they're in defense mode. That's why I wanted to have this conversation with you on air so people could hear how very relaxed we are. There's not fire and brimstone raining down on me because I don't believe what the church told me. You know what? God would pat me on the head.
I don't either.
Good boy. I gave you free will and free thought, and you're using it. I mean, it's just frustrating, Joe. You know why? I understand the potential that everybody has. That's what pisses me off. I understand that everybody out there listening that hears this, everybody out there on this planet has infinite potential.
Infinite potential.
And it's being retarded on a daily basis. And when people allow themselves to think like that, it just gets frustrating. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, that's why I wear my tinfoil hat. That way, it protects me. It does. It protects me from all that kind of stuff. It does. Seriously. But you're right. These ideologies are really what over time have broken things down. People get too focused on them. And the founding fathers, if you look at like the CIA training and the FBI training now, they tell them, all the prospective agents, that the founding fathers were terrorists. And you know why they were terrorists? It wasn't because of their ideologies. They didn't have common ideologies. They were starkly different from one another. You had Ben Franklin, the womanizer. Some say he was, I don't want to say an atheist, but his beliefs weren't in line with mainstream Christianity.
Yeah, hanging out at places like the Hellfire Club.
Yeah, well, stuff like that. And but this is pre Aleister Crowley and all that kind of stuff. So let's just say, for example, that he wasn't exactly your textbook Christian founding father. He was not. Jefferson was not. So how did all these people with different religious quote-unquote backgrounds and ideologies come together and create this country and fight against the empire? How could they do it? You know why? That is why they call them terrorists, because they could see through that. Because they saw what everybody could agree on, and they came together and rallied behind that instead of all the different ideologies that may divide them. It's unbelievable, dude.
You ever see, I know you know who he is, Bill Cooper. He did one of his famous speeches he did out in California. And there's YouTube videos of it in the internet. The audio is famous. He said, what's the one thing that we all have in common? No matter what color you are, what religion. What's the one thing that we all have in common?
We all human.
Well, besides that, what's the one thing that we all strive for? One thing, one true thing that everything else is based off of.
Hold on. I think Schmeagol wants to weigh in on that. Immortality.
Yeah, right. No, that's what they want. Freedom.
That's it, man. We just want
freedom.
To be left alone.
Because without freedom, you can't be a Muslim. Without freedom, you can't be a Christian.
Right.
Without freedom, you can't be whatever religious denomination you want to be. Without free thought, without freedom, you can't practice what you want to practice. So it's kind of like you want freedom to say and believe what you want, But at the same time, you want to then turn around and take away everybody else's freedom under your ideology, and that's not right.
That's not free. That's not a free society.
Right. And honestly, just because you believe in something doesn't make it right. Just because I believe in something doesn't make it right. Okay?
Absolutely.
The only way to find out the truth is to sit down and have a logical conversation about it and put all of the evidence out on the table. Vatican.
Yeah, but you know, oh, hasso.
Yeah, but they're not hiding anything.
Nah. But in all honesty, you could sit down and have a conversation. Don't expect that you're going to come to some sort of agreement. You know, don't expect that you're going to agree on everything. That's stupid to think so. But respect your peers' differences, your loved ones' differences.
I don't agree with everything that I talk with people about. I'm going to tell you what.
No, of course not.
I have learned more from not agreeing with people because they've forced me to go back and double check my stuff. And 99% of the time, I'm correct. But you know what? There are times that I'm not correct. And you know what? I don't mind. Because then it forces me to look at something and go, oh, well, you know what? I didn't get in this I didn't start doing this radio show to become famous or to make money. I did it to just spread truthful information. So if I'm talking about something that's inaccurate and somebody points that out to me and they can show me the evidence that I'm inaccurate, and don't get me wrong, you can't just come up to me with a piece of paper or something and you're like, here's a piece of evidence, there you go, you're wrong. No, you have to give me something that obviously we could debate and it would outweigh the other evidence. But that's the way that logical debate works, right? I don't have a problem with that. There's been times where I've been shown new evidence to something and I'm like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. So a lot of it has to do with an emotional attachment to an idea. And that happens whether you're talking about religion, science, any politics,
absolutely.
Anything in the truther community. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh, dude, emotions run high.
I understand why, by the way.
Sure. Oh, yeah, that's why, that's another one of those reasons why they say, oh, the only two things you should never talk about, politics and religion. Those are the two most important things everybody should be talking about.
Right. That's usually the first thing I talk about when I walk into a bar.
Absolutely. Let's polarize the place right off the bat.
I'm like, hey, did you guys see that priest who's running for Congress? What do you think about that?
Why do you walk into the bar wearing brass knuckles?
Right, exactly. I know I'm going to need them when I make a comment like that. Honestly, I just want to have conversations with people. It's not like if somebody was like, well, why would you go on air and talk about this or spur other people to talk about it? Don't you realize that's going to stir fights? Well, what you're doing is you're playing to the emotion. You're saying because people can't emotionally control themselves that we just can't have these conversations. That's what that is. Like, forget
that's baloney.
Yeah, exactly. Why? So because I'm supposed to, what is this? Friggin' romper room? I'm supposed to play by kids rules because the kids can't control themselves.
Come on, we'll just be on the big comfy couch.
Well, last time I checked, isn't it the responsibility of the parent running romper room or whatever to kind of keep them from tearing each other apart? I mean, it gets frustrating, dude. I'm not playing by those rules. I'm not playing by, that's why this country is in such a crappy state of disrepair. That's why nobody can even have a conversation about the slightest thing when it comes to politics anymore without people screaming at the tops of their lungs on both sides of the fence, right? Because they don't realize that fence in the middle is crap. It's imaginary. You're both pissed about the same things. Duh. Right? Nobody wants their freedom being taken away, right? The only people that get on board with it is when they get you separated and they get you into it's my guy who's in power, so I'm with him, like the Obamanoids are. And if he wasn't in and Mitt Romney was in and Mitt Romney was doing this stuff, it wouldn't matter if Romney was doing everything that Obama was doing. People would be because he's not their guy. That's how they keep us fighting amongst each other. It's the same thing with religion and anything else. Look, we're all in this friggin' boat. Do you not get it? We're all on the same little blue mark.
Oh, yes, we are.
Okay? We have to stop arguing amongst ourselves. I'm telling you, we must be the laughingstock of the galaxy. Earth, the most interesting reality TV show ever.
Oh, dude, we are definitely pulling in the Emmy Awards, the Galactic Emmy Awards. Absolutely. No doubt. Best drama. Best drama.
Right?
You can't get better drama anywhere else.
Seriously.
I mean, this is where it's at. And unfortunately,
I really think we're like the most popular reality TV show in the universe because we're like the late bloomer. We're the last ones to pull our heads from our butts. And it's look, again, I'm not bashing anybody in particular. It's not to a certain extent. It's not our fault. It is our fault. It's 50-50, I'll say. It's partially our fault because we have to take some responsibility for this, but there is also a percentage of control that people don't know about. So that's the percentage that isn't their fault. But still, we have to take personal responsibility for this. Look, if we could all can you imagine how cool this planet would be if we weren't arguing over whose religion is better, whose piece of sand is better or more holy, or blah, 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 or I've got this resource or I've got that resource. Can you imagine if we all just got along? Hey, wow, there's a whole universe to explore and other planets. Oh, yeah. And the ocean. Oh my God.
And if you just respect each other's differences, everything washes out, man. All of a sudden it's like, woof, veil comes down, walls come down, and there's nothing holding us back. And that's all it takes. That's all it takes. A little bit of mutual respect for one another. I don't care what you believe. If you want to worship a shoe, I don't care. Do it. I mean, a lot of Americans do it anyway with the $200 shoes and all the bling and all the damn electronics, the cheap electronics.
They already do.
They do. They worship things. But you have it. If that's what you want,
shouldn't be
go for it.
Anything. That's another part of the problem is we worship stuff. We've always a lot of our beliefs come from this this belief that we have to be on bended knee and lick the boot of the creator. You ever wonder if the creator has a whole whatever you want? I'll just call him the creator. Call it the creator because I don't know anything. I don't know what other appropriate logical term to call it without anthropomorphizing it. Right. So say the creator has a big den and he's got a bookshelf, and on the bookshelf are all these different creations, different planets, creatures, whatever. Then there's humanity, and he keeps looking at us because we're the only ones that can't get it together. We're the one failed experiment. He's he's scratching his head what the hell is wrong with this ant farm? Why are they not what the hell? All the other ant farms, they've built all this other beautiful creations. Look at this. Oh my God, they have huge colonies and they figured things out, and we're here fighting over this little tiny. He's looking at if he looks from his perspective, he's looking at us and he sees the Earth. He sees this huge vast planet filled with all these natural resources, and he sees everybody fighting over this little tiny piece. That's the way we are. I mean, don't you want to get out of this? I know I do. I would want to, when I leave this planet, and again, I don't plan on doing it anytime soon, but when I do leave, I want to leave a better place than I came into. When I came into this planet, everybody was stuck in base consciousness. It's my goal, when I leave, to have everybody out of that. We need to, pull our heads from our butts.
Yeah, stop being a servant to these flippin' slave masters, or better said, the powers that shouldn't be, All this stuff is to divide you. The debt monetary system is to divide you and keep you enslaved, just like ideologies keep you enslaved. It's that simple. Now, I believe in the Bible, and that me personally, I think God exists. I think science proves that God exists. I think that it's harder for a scientist to come up with a lie to disprove it.
Well, that's why I say quantum physics. Anybody that's ever studied quantum physics, the deeper into it you go, the more you have an understanding that life did not happen by accident. It's
quantum
impossible.
Physics, that was one. What really woke me up to, that really gave me the scientific confirmation that God was real, that blue, that fingerprint, I guess you could say, was the work of a guy by the name of Marco Rodin, who came up with what's called vortex mathematics, and came up with an idea or design on this coil. It's called a Rodin coil. And basically what it does is when you channel power through it, it creates this tremendous force, this almost singularity in the middle of this coil, which is unbelievable. But the way you wind it, it's like ancient knowledge, dude. the way you wind it is in the symbol of the Freemason. You know, the compass and the builder's, what is it? The builder's square?
The compass and the square.
And the square, right? If you look at that design and then you look at the way the rodent coil is wound, it's the same pattern. And this is ancient stuff. But if you look at the mathematical sequence and everything else, it basically comes out to be like the mathematical fingerprint of God. It all falls in line. It's unbelievable. I'm going to put, as a matter of fact, I'm going to throw the link in the chat room for people to check it out, because science does prove this. Not only quantum physics, but also mathematically, you can prove that God exists.
Right. Obviously, there's something there. Now, instead of arguing over whether or not there is some,
it doesn't matter.
Force,
right.
Like, we should stop arguing over whether or not there is a creative force and just how about we just stop fighting over, like, basically we're fighting over whether or not to open the box lid and look out. No, you can't look out. Dude, just open the effing box lid.
Yeah.
Seriously. Popeye, you're talking about Pandora's box. No, I'm not. Stop it.
But there's a clear distinction here that needs to be made. There is a big difference between real science and ideologies, ideological science, pseudoscience, or better yet, the dogma. It's almost a form of religion in and of itself. They don't follow the scientific method anymore. If they did, certain things would disprove themselves.
For example, when they say that there's no, when the powers that shouldn't be have one of their little putzes in a lab coat come out and say that there's no medicinal qualities to cannabis whatsoever. That's a perfect example.
Yeah, okay.
There's no scientific method being applied there at all, because anybody that has applied the scientific method to it finds out the exact opposite.
Reefer madness.
Just saying.
Reefer madness.
Better be careful. You smoke pot, and next thing you know, you'll be running around raping all the white women. I mean, that's what reefer madness pretty much said, was if black people and Mexicans smoked pot, that they were going to come and rape all the white women. And people think that people don't realize our modern drug laws are based off of that kind of ideology. And by the way, there was like the laws that were used to start the process of criminalizing drugs, with the tax stamp and everything else back in the day. All that stuff was pushed through just like the Federal Reserve Act was. Barely anybody there. Everybody's off running around, whatever rules. We only need we only need 4 people. Hey, I have it.
Yes, we have a quorum. We're good. Woo!
Yeah, so like 4 or 5 people decide millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of people's fate. That's awesome, isn't it? Yeah, that's great. Anyway, break sneaking up. We still got hour 2. More deep convo. Don't go anywhere. Like I said, it is my analysis from researching quantum physics for years now that science does prove that there definitely is a creator.
Most certainly.
We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with hour number 2 here on tonight's live edition of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Popeye, from FederalJack.com. Tonight, I am joined for the second hour, and if you missed the first hour, make sure you go back and check it, because I promise you will not regret it.
But you will not regret it.
Yes, you won't. I am joined by my good friend, Mr. Joe Joseph. And Joe, before I forget, just in case the listeners don't know, which I'm sure all of them already do, but if they don't, go ahead and plug your show really quick.
Oh, yes. Tune in every Monday to Thursday evening for the Freedom Link. Yes, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time.
And you have a Facebook page and a
Yes,
website?
I do. It's actually, I have a Facebook page, too.
Yes, Joe is worse. The only one person worse at publication, or not publication, what do you call that? Like self-PR. The only person worse at it than me is you, because you never talk about your Facebook page or your website. So go ahead and plug them.
It's awful. Thefreedomlink.net. You can email me, info@thefreedomlink.net. I know I'm horrible when it comes to that, because I'm just kind of more focused on the show and everything else, that it just the concept, you know. Oh, and by the way, you might want to add CDC to this.
I know I'm chatting with him.
Yeah, add him, will you? For the love of God, he's harassing me.
He's got some deep thoughts on this.
He does.
Very stuff that we've been
He's
discussing.
another good one, you know, and it doesn't subscribe to, or doesn't let his beliefs, get in the way of, his ability to interface with other people. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. We're all human, baby. No matter what you believe, I don't care. Just don't tread on me. You know what I'm saying?
Without a shadow of a doubt. Ken!
Hey, what's going on, bro?
There he is.
Our good old buddy Ken. You got the stream going on in the background? You might want to kill that.
Yeah, I'm glad you reminded me. I hit that pause button in the chat room. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So go on.
Yes, thank you so much.
What do
you
you
totally
think?
derailed Popeye's broadcast. I love that.
No, only for like
Anybody that does that has my respect.
only for like 2 seconds. You can't derail me because I'm always on top of things.
How about them Red Sox?
Yeah, nice try.
Damn it.
So you've been listening to I'm sure, at least a portion of the first hour, and you've gotten a chance to hear what we've been talking about. I know you and I have had some pretty deep conversations about religion and science and how actually the two complement one another rather than really should be fist fighting one another. But like, what are your thoughts?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. There's over 7 billion heads on this planet. We're not going to agree, but we do, I think, to survive and to progress in a good direction, we need to learn to get along and try to understand each other. You know, there's good people and there's bad people on this planet, and color or religion or anything like that doesn't have anything to do with that. I mean, I was actually talking about this very thing on my show earlier today. Because it really gets depressing sometimes, because we really need to focus on that and learn that that we're not going to disagree on everything, and that's a good thing. We shouldn't agree on everything, is what I mean to say. And how boring would it really be if everybody agreed on every single thing? I mean, there would be no creativity, and there would be really, for anybody who tried to think outside the box, there would only be complacency. Okay, everybody in the world thinks this, so I have to think this way. I mean, we just can't do that. We just have to learn to get along.
Let me throw this out there as far as the complacency and everything else is concerned. We get complacent in our beliefs. It seems like human nature always says that our belief is always right, and then you end up judging other people because of what you've been brought up to believe. But in reality, the only way that we can actually beat or maintain our freedom, and remember, folks, without freedom, you can't have your ideologies, because believe me, they want to give you their ideologies. They want to give you what to think. They don't want you to think for yourself or believe in what you want to believe. They want you to worship them. And so the only way that we can preserve that is to fight for freedom. We all collectively need it, because without it, you can't have your ideologies. Much like, like I said, the 9/11 movement. We all want a new investigation. Who cares how it happened or whose theory's right? We have to go with what we agree with first, and we all agree with that. We all need an independent investigation onto this, onto that very important subject. Then you bicker about who's right and who's wrong. It just seems like we put the cart before the horse every time.
And it always happens, too.
Yeah.
In any kind of movement, it seems like people get together for the right thing, but then all of a sudden it's like, who's right? Who's talking about this? I mean, even, talk radio or anything like that, or, any kind of making videos, anything like that. It seems like people will after you do it for a while, they will just start to question every move you make, which is a good thing. Now, granted, you should question everything and make sure, everything is correct. But when it just comes down to the bickering, you're not talking about this and you're not talking about that. And, today I got into it over that Obama deception, and that's what I started on my show earlier today with some cats. I hadn't been out there in a while, and I was sitting there talking to them. And they want to put you in this box of being a certain way, and it's like no, it's like a black or white world when there's plenty of values of gray. It's like it doesn't have to be so extreme, It's like you're talking about the 9/11 movement. It's like people will get in and agree with 80% of the things that I say, but they won't like it that I don't bring up, the planes really didn't hit the building. It was CGI script. It was fake. And I'm like, I don't really know anything about that. And I wasn't there to witness the planes hit the building. But that's far from what I'm going to dive into. We don't need to dive into anything
you don't have to
like
get that far.
Right. Maybe the people who say that are correct. I mean, maybe they are. I mean, I really don't know. But the fact remains is that, let's look at the things that we can all agree on instead of and all of a sudden then you start fighting with each other. And next thing you know, somebody's making a website about you, or they're making videos about how you're a disinformation agent. And next thing you know, everybody's fighting each other within that movement. And that's exactly what the powers, like Popeye says, the powers that should not be, that's what they want.
That's right.
Well, that's why they have us arguing over all this crap, so they can control us. Like the business card says, it's two puppets with what I affectionately refer to as Uncle Jack, with the the shadowy Uncle Sam figure with the two puppets. That's why I have that as a business card, because it's sending the point across that we are being controlled, and that's why having this conversation was important to me. Getting into this topic was important to me because it enables me to expose the bigger problem, which is the fact that people do not talk. That's why the whole reason that was the thing that spurred me the most out of, I was already irritated and it was going through my mind. And that's why I ended up putting that post up on Facebook, because
that was awesome.
But
awesome that it sparked that much. Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. Which one did you put? Which one? Outside the box?
No. I posted a status update the other day that about religion and aliens. Basically, just not even religion, just about free thought and how I don't think I'm going to burn in hell for using it. Pretty much, and it spurred a debate. And some of it was a little bit, typical, all caps typing and stuff, and you got to tell people to chill out. But it was actually a lot more laid back than I actually thought it. I mean, I did stir a hornet's nest, but it could have been a lot worse. But the whole goal was to get people to talk. That was my goal. See, that's the problem is if you look at everything, no matter what, politics, science, religion, anything, they have the reason why the powers that shouldn't be, can control us and manipulate everybody the way they can is because people don't have open lines of communication anymore. So there's always misconceptions, misunderstandings. People don't know anything, literally, right? Well, if a body has the same problem, it dies. That's how cancer forms and disease forms, and the body dies, right? Or you get autoimmune problems where the immune system starts to attack its own body because it doesn't even recognize itself, right? Well, that's what we have as a society, and it's being done on purpose. One of the main ways it's being done is because they break down methods of communication. Why do you think they want to go after the internet? Because people use the internet to communicate. Why do you think they're going after Skype? I wrote an article about Skype today. Microsoft, after December, is pretty much turning Skype into a friggin' mobile app. But
they've demonized everybody against one another. I mean, everybody is... It's funny, like I said, when you move into a neighborhood now, you don't get the welcoming committee. You get the eyeballs through the blinds.
Because they want everybody to be afraid of each other. See,
yeah.
But it's not just the fear. The fear manifests oh my God, they could be terrorists. But see, the sneaky part of it, the brilliance of the plan is they get people to stop communicating. And that's the key. Because when there's no communication or a breakdown in communication, like I said, just as with a human body and the cells inside the body, if they stop communicating with each other and they break down and they die, the body dies. And that's what they're doing to our country and our system. Not even the United States, proud to be an American. Not even that. They're doing this to humanity. F state lines, F country borders, humanity as a whole. Everybody.
I never knew you were a globalist.
Well, honestly,
Oh,
eventually we're going. You want to know the truth? You want to know the truth?
Still.
I know. And I say this all the time. Eventually, we're going to have to come to the realization that we're not going to be.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, we're not going to be. We're not going to have these borders and boundaries, at least the way we know them, forever.
Star Trek.
There's no reason. Look, there's no reason we all can't get along and explore the ocean and the vast universe. But in order to do that, in order to do that, we have to evolve in our way of thinking, because right now we're still stuck in base consciousness, and we can't. Again, we're arguing over whose God is better, whose piece of sand is better. You know what I mean?
Is this like V'ger in Star Trek: The Motion Picture?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No, there is no. I'm just saying we can all get along.
No, and you're absolutely right, and that's like when we can actually stop crawling and we can walk. But right now we can't even get along in our own homes. We can't get along in our own neighborhoods, not let alone in a county or city, a state, a country, or anything like this. We're just so divided, and they love it. They love it, and like you guys are saying, we really, as far as communicating, we need to learn that we are different. And we're all different. We're going to see the world different. That's the way it is. But, any kind of contrasting opinions, this other person likes blue and I like red or whatever it may be. Or if I'm a Christian and that's a Muslim or a Buddhist or an atheist or whatever it is, we have to learn to get together. But to do that, a lot of times I think people got to start within themselves and learn to get along with themselves and not just go along and jump the bandwagon and truly believe in their heart what they believe, instead of having people tell them what to believe or which side to choose, and then feel confident about themselves enough to where there doesn't have to be a line. Just be confident about who you are and what you believe, and then you can accept somebody else for doing the same thing. If you open yourself to actually listen to people, sometimes other people who have different opinions, without all of the line in the sand kind of mentality, then there is room for communication. Their doorway is open for communication, and then each person, each town, each state, each country, world can actually learn from each other and learn how to make it work.
Well, I hate to sound cheesy when I say we all need to get along, but I mean it's the truth. It doesn't make any rational sense at all, and it doesn't matter which way you slice it. It doesn't matter how many different ways you try to add it up. It does not matter. If we continue to fight amongst ourselves over petty, retarded things and continue to allow ourselves to be manipulated and used, we are not going anywhere forward, or we're only going backwards. And then we will be, this feudalist state that some of these hosts talk about, or Jones goes on air, oh my God, they want to put us back into, the Dark Ages. Well, I know he goes a bit overboard, but technically he's kind of right to a certain extent. And if we don't if we don't step up and start to think outside the box, if we don't start to try to think ahead and evolve humanity, we're going to go backwards. We're either going to go forward or backwards. They're trying to hit the brakes and put us in full reverse. And we need to stop that. And the only way to stop that is to not think inside of that box. That's why I made that whole video. Because we keep thinking, everybody keeps looking for solutions to all of these problems inside that box there. They don't realize that the solution is to step outside the box because the answers are not in it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it that we got to do it. We got to do it. But how do you get the people out there to accept that? Like, it's like we're doing the majority of this planet is doing exactly what the powers that shouldn't be want us to do. They want us to fight. They want us to be separated. That's the only way that those few people, those few families can control that many people. The whips and chains don't really work anymore, you know? So they have to keep us fighting each other so we're not paying attention to what they're doing. And at the end of the day, it is the major problem. They would not have the power that they do and the control that they do if we all just said, if we all did just accept each other, you know. I mean, like I said, there's good people and there's bad people and everything, you know. And if your belief is in peace, you know, like anything that's extreme Christianity, extreme Muslims, extreme Buddhists, extreme, atheists, all this stuff where they're shoving stuff down each other's throats and they hating each other and all this stuff is just too extreme. But they accept each other. They're like, we're all different. We have different cultures. We have different ways and everything. And as long as nobody's chopping babies' heads off and eating people and all this kind of stuff, really bad, universal kind of bad stuff. We can get along, but they don't want that. They want
that's
that
what I'm
line
saying.
drawn.
There's some universally accepted things I think we can all agree on that are universally bad, right? Like eating little babies and stuff, like doing horrific things to children, pedophilia, things. Like I think we could all agree that's pretty bad, right? Universally, I think we could all say, yeah,
Sure.
okay, bad. I can but like, really, do we need to argue over? Well, you live in this section of the world, so you must be a bad person because 3,000 years ago, my religion says that blah 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 happened here or whatever, or my political God figure, Barack Obama, or insert political talking head here, they said this, that, or other thing. So people need to answer it all. Everybody goes, well, what's the answer to the problems? I mean, there's so many problems. What are all these different answers? There's one answer to it all. Don't play the game. Step outside of the box and start thinking for yourself. Realize that you're only being presented with a small, minute, tiny fraction of what's really out there. You're only being presented with this tiny little piece. And once you realize
and that's a big thing too. For anybody who has traveled around, I mean, even in the United States of America, I mean, we always hear, Americans want this, Americans did this, Americans think this, all of these type of things. But when you really get out and you travel the entire United States, it's a vast country, many different types of cultures within this country, and then you expand that out into the world, and you see in each country that's the same thing that's going on. There's multiple cultures within in those countries. The information and the opinions that people base their opinions on about other people is because they really never really experienced those cultures or never experienced much about anything that's out there in the world. They just take what's given to them by these turds in the mainstream media for the majority of the part here in the United States and elsewhere. They just already have this opinion that's based off of what somebody else told them instead of the experience of themselves, or just admitting that they really don't know about this certain sect or group of people because they've never met anybody. I remember back in the 80s, I was a Reaganite. I wanted to kill Russians. I mean, straight up. And I figured like, hey, that's who we're going to be fighting. I might as well get used to it. I'm going to join the military. I'm going to go kill me some Russians, some commies. Okay, I never met a Russian. That's what my dad told me. He's 82nd Airborne. He's like, yeah, why do you want to kill Russians? Have you ever met a Russian? Of course, he knew the answer to that. But, and then, later in life, I met, many Russian people from Russia and the Soviet Union blocks, the old blocks of the Soviet Union. And it was like, and that's when I learned there's good people and there's bad people. Why did I allow myself to feel like this was the enemy when I didn't even know anything really about these people except for what their government had put out there and what our mainstream media and our government had told us about these people? I mean, it really is. people have really got to think about this, why they hate somebody or hate a certain group or hate a certain religion because it's different than theirs. It's like, if you go and you actually meet some of the people, you'll find the same thing that you will find anywhere on this planet, and that is that there's good people and there's bad people, and there's no reason to hate because somebody else told you to hate a group of people.
Oh, people, again, it comes to thinking for themselves, man. It really does. It's as simple as that. It comes to people thinking for themselves. And that's, again, free thought. When just thinking, openly and freely is what caused me to, get. And I've gotten these, over the course of time. I get multiple people, not hundreds, but I'll get different people here and there saying things to me like, oh, Popeye, you're going to burn in hell because you believe in aliens and blah, 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 and things like that. And again, the fact, or the idea, the fact, listen to me, the idea that, because that's what that is, it's just an idea, the idea that the omnipotent creative force that's out there that created everything, right? Including the aliens that would come visit here because something had to create them. So this omnipotent force, right, would give us this huge, magnificent computer we have called a human brain to think, right, and to just literally compute things and contemplate the meaning of life and the universe, more so than any other species on this planet. And we put ourselves immediately in this tiny little box because we're only allowed to think about certain things. And if you think, if a thought about anything else crosses your mind, you're evil. And it's Satan or a demon coming in to get. And that doesn't come from people just sitting around thinking that. That comes from someone telling them that. That comes from someone programming that idea into their head. That's a man-made idea, okay? And this pisses a lot of people off when I talk about it, but I ended up steering it back towards religion for a second. But look, I just don't think that an all-creative force would want us to think in this base level of consciousness.
It's not logical.
No,
it's not even logical. It's like saying, how I mean, in any religion of any sorts, it's like, why would any supreme being or force or anything like that blame people and send them to hell because they were swayed in a different way by, these things? I mean, I totally believe, and I've experienced many religions in my life, really many cultures in different religions, and I was always, actually, I felt, kind of blessed that I was able to, that they would allow me in to share their different religions with me, and I could see the good sides and all of them. And I never understood all of the bad stuff, the doom and gloom kind of thing. And I'm sitting there thinking, just thinking logically, which any supreme being, God, whatever people believe in would actually, conceive. I mean, I'm thinking I'm just a mere person, so I'm just thinking logical. I was like, how could somebody go to hell for something that they never knew? That they were raised from birth, and taught these specific things in the learning theory, in psychology, it's a learning theory. They're taught these things from birth, and that was wrong. So therefore, they have to pay the price. They have to do this. That doesn't even make any sense. Why would it be so doom and gloom? It's like we can all, humanity, no matter whether you're a Christian, Muslim, atheist, Buddhist, whatever you are, there is a good and a bad, and people will debate that all day long. They will debate that kind of stuff, but at the end of the day, we see it. It has action. It's an abstract concept, but it does have things that happen from it.
Well, I mean, I believe in good and bad totally, but I just don't think that whatever omnipotent, like you said, it's totally illogical that some omnipotent force would create our magnificent brain, the computer that it is, and then tell us, now you can't use it. Just doesn't make any sense. We're going to break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Final segment tonight's broadcast. Make sure you tune in tomorrow night I got my good buddy Johnny English coming on for episode number 15 of Cutting Through the BS. There's a large pile of it that we have to go through tomorrow. I know there's a few things that Johnny wants to tear into, so I look forward to the broadcast. Always interesting when he comes on, so make sure you tune in tomorrow night. So guys, I know that this is a very contentious topic. I know this is something that
I'm feeling it.
It just seems to be, it's kind of funny how telling people that we should all just like sit down and talk civilized seems to piss people off.
Maybe it pisses people off. It doesn't piss me off. I mean, this is great.
Well,
I'm just sitting back and taking it all in.
It's crazy how we can't, as a species, talk to each other. And again, that's been manipulated that way. It's not natural. I mean, it's natural. When you sit down and have a conversation with somebody and the conversation's flowy and everybody goes, oh, wow, I had this great conversation with this person today and they feel good and it could be some random person they just met. And it's not that they're, attracted to the individual and anything like that. It's they had a good conversation and they were able to just openly communicate. That actually makes you feel good because you were able to openly communicate. Look, your thoughts and everything were flowing to another human being, and theirs were flowing to you back and forth, uninhibited. Ooh, look at that! That's a neat, interesting feeling. Well, how about if we did that more often instead of attacking one another? I found an interesting documentary. I gotta finish watching it, and then I gotta do a little research on it before I air it. But if I'm going to, but I think I might have found another piece of audio to air for the listeners, because it talks a little bit about how the physiological reactions inside of our body when we hear something that we don't like, because there is this physiological reaction to our emotional state and the way we react. There is, our body is that medium that connects us, to those emotional like feelings to physiological feeling it, being able to experience it. I always say the body is like our vessel for our soul to be able to experience the physical world. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to. So
I want to throw this out there too, since you were talking about this whole physical thing and everything. Monologues of a Revolutionary, number 104. You get to see this guy just start just spewing puke out of his mouth and just like blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh wow, he's even using the special effects and everything. Woo! No, man, that was great. I wanted to give you a little fist pump.
Oh man,
that was good stuff.
Like, people were like, "What?
Whoa!" That's exactly what I was like. Whoa!
Oh, that's gonna get crazier too.
I can only imagine. No gas chambers or anything, is there?
No. This is just the weekly routine. That's just the weekly routine, and that's not even a camp friendly or or anything like that. That's just weeding out the people, trying to get them to participate.
Mm-hmm. Control.
How many episodes do you have now?
It's 4 of them right now. The recent one was just showing what the people, at Hopetown Village go through on a weekly basis. They're fighting the revolution. There's certain ones in the camp, and they're fighting the revolution. And they, but from the other episodes, you learn like some of the things that have been going through and where they're isolated to do certain things, and they're really trying to just pick it back up. They sent some people in to Masdar, the city of the future. They sent a squad in there, so they have to do diversions to be able to use the internet to get into the communications to see what's going on. But, starting at the end of episode 3, it was going to be a long week because you had to wait to find out what happened, because they can't talk. They really can't communicate because, of the way that it's all set up. But then they have to go through their regiment. It's about 90% of the week is spent on, drugging them and blasting stuff through the loudspeakers to weed out the people who they, at the end of the week, they'll send a new group to Masdar City and all of that stuff. And, just picking out the people that who are, go along with the program and they can send in. So they come in and question you throughout the week. They drug you, question you, blast all this crap, how great the New World Order is, how great the city is, all the benefits of living in this peaceful, non-violent world that they have created for you, as long as you go along with it and everything. So now I was just doing in this last episode showing what they're going to go through, for 90% of the week. And then, the next episode is going to be going in, I'll give you a little sneak peek, or go into the information that they'll finally get together, and you'll be able to know what information was got from Asdar City. Did they contact them? Did the squad set up, getting the information about what's actually going on there, and what their next step is? Because like the character in it is like he's totally losing it because it's week after week after week after week, and he's already been to the little re-education camp that they have, Camp Friendly, because he was. I ain't gonna spoil it, but there was a reason that he was sent there, so he's already been there once at the re-education camp.
You're killing me.
Oh, yeah. So, we're going to find, I'm trying not to spill it, but, and you're going to find out that, but we'll find out, about the communications, the mission that was run, like in episode 2, they did a diversion so that the last 2 remaining computer geeks, the hackers and all that stuff could hack into the system and actually communicate out there with the squad that was sent in. So, we're going to find all of that information out, or some of that information out, in the next one. And the whole point is like, what do we do? What's going to be the next step in this revolution? Because they just got the hammer down on everybody. It's so tight that it's going to be really hard. So we'll be able to find a little bit more out in the next episode about that and some of the next steps that they're going to take.
How crazy is it? And just thinking about your little thing here, and what spurred this thought, but how crazy is it that they get people to think that if the idea of everybody living in not harmony, I'm sure there would be scuffles here and there, but it would be a lot more harmonious than it is now, especially if we elevated the way we thought, because then a lot of the squabbles and stuff that we have would go away. They just wouldn't exist anymore. They wouldn't occur. But the powers that shouldn't be, the only option they offer when it comes to like everybody quote unquote getting along and peaceful, they're the world government, is their idea of world government, where it's all tyrannically controlled and humanity is dumbed down and whittled down to a more manageable number, meaning they kill people. I mean, that's simply what they want to do. If they're going to whittle the human race down, they have to kill people to do it. It's the same thing you do with a herd of cattle. Okay, but they get people to think that if you think of this, like everybody getting along and operating as more of a cohesive unit, humanity, it's always presented in that, oh, you must be a globalist, or you because only globalists would want a one world order. So we all have.
You're a shill, dude.
But you see what I mean?
Hey, you're a total and complete globalist shill.
No, but that's because...
Hold up. Let me finish my thought before you guys get all sidetracked and start screwing around.
I'm trying to screw around.
No, listen for a second. I'm serious here for a second. Listen. What if that's part of the way they control people? Because the only time you ever hear of everybody getting together and getting along is in this new world order that we're going to control a globalist government. Woo! And the other... choice, remember, they only give you A or B, right? The other choice is being stuck back in this base level of consciousness, which is then easier for them to control us. What happens if we took choice C and we were like, okay, we'll do everybody getting along and working together just without you D-bags. And we'll actually take care of people and do the right thing instead of killing each other and trying to be tyrannical a-holes. That would be choice C or maybe D. But they only offer you one of two choices. Right? Mm-hmm. I just like when I watching your video and hearing you talk about your videos and stuff and like the storyline, it just goes to show you like you said the idea of they're presenting this. Oh, here's a We're a loving we're a loving tyrannical government.
Yes.
We give you peace and everything, but we have to lock you up and take away all your rights for you to have peace. And you know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing they ever offer you when it comes to this new world order. They never offer you a positive side to it. It's always the dark side.
Right, and it's ruled by fear, you know?
Now go ahead, you can let the comedy answer.
But it's like we all have a concept of a new world order.
Sure, we do.
Because it's an abstract concept. I mean, and you look, Germany had one, Japan had one, Churchill had one. I mean, it's been spoken in that exact terminology, for decades and decades and decades over the last century. As a matter of fact, by different people who have different concepts, and we can all. Every person, I mean, I got my concept of, a new world order. I mean, I don't, and I'm sure it's been around for thousands of years. People just call it something different,
Sure.
And, but the thing is that theirs is everybody, and and the reason that I'm using that in this monologue is because I've heard and the way that I am is the way they present it, and the way I've heard other people. I've really been inspired by people especially the last 4 or 5 years who have talked about it. Like, what would be wrong with a new world order? There wouldn't be any war. There would be peace. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, what? Of course, if you could keep all the slaves contained, doing exactly what their concept of a new world order is, of course, there's not going to be any fighting. I mean, if everybody does what they say and what they want them to do, then yeah, they wouldn't have to have wars for sure. There'd be complacency, and it's like there's no freedom in that. There's no creativity in that. It's absolutely absurd to think that their concept, even if everybody did what they said, we wouldn't have crime, we wouldn't have, wars, we wouldn't have all of these things. They would give it to us. It's like, no, that takes away the freedom of the individual.
You know how we stop the wars? See, look, this is what I'm saying. I can get that we could all be on the, like, you understand, we could all work together as humanity. I know you both get it. But see, what they do is they're presenting this whole thing out of order. They say, we need the global government now so we can all get along, and that's the only way that it'll stop violence. No. We can't have a global government until we get over that mental evolutionary hurdle. Because that hurdle, where we change our thinking of how we treat one another, that's what'll stop the violence. A global government's not going to stop violence. Governments don't stop violence.
Yeah, governments don't do anything like that.
No,
right?
They actually exacerbate it, if anything else.
They make the situation a lot worse.
Exactly. The only thing that's going to stop this violence and people going after each other is this level of thinking, this mental hurdle. Once we get over that, then we can have this global government. But it's like they know that in order to... See, this is the way I view it is they understand that we're going to have this change, and they know, like Bill Cooper said, we have this fork in the road. To me, sometimes I look at it more of, it is a fork, but the New World Order have kind of turned the fork sideways, right? And what they want to do is they want to control the outcome.
Yeah.
They want people to not realize there's a fork in the road. They've covered up the one road, if you will. They want they want to control how we're going to go. They want to control this whole thing. They want to be able to steer us into total tyranny and keep us in that base consciousness level. So they see that this fork, they see this change in humanity coming, this evolutionary change, and they realize once we say, look at it like you're on a track and we're running. They can see that they can see the hurdle coming up. We don't. Maybe we don't realize it yet as humanity, but the powers that shouldn't be, they have binoculars. They can see the hurdle. They know once we get over that hurdle, they won't be able to control us. Right? That hurdle is their end of control. So what they do is they take the idea of everybody getting along, this global whatever, everybody, humanity getting along as a whole, and they yank that from the far end of the track, which is in between you. That's the end goal. That's the hurdle. Put that aside for a second. The end goal is everybody getting along, right? Well, they take that idea and they morph it into their own little twisted version for control. World government, right? Tyrannical world government. And they put that ahead of that hurdle. so that we don't get to that hurdle until we have this global control. Because then once they have the control, it doesn't matter if we hit that hurdle, because we might not even get to the hurdle. They could stop the friggin' race before we ever get there. But if we can get over that hurdle, what we're going to be capable of is going to be limitless. And then then all bets are off. That's like the last line of control, is that hurdle. And they're trying to do everything in their power to stop us from even realizing that the hurdle's coming up for us to get ready to jump over it. And that's why they push everybody back, mentally. And, watch Dancing with the Stars. And, I posted a meme that I saw on Facebook earlier. It's a picture of a guy with like his hands up, and it says, I don't know, NSA, NDAA, I don't know anything about my government, but I could tell you like who won the 1996 World Series or whatever it is, or in football stats, and the stats of the '86 Dolphin team and all this other crap. And that's how they mentally retard people. People aren't looking ahead down the track; they're looking behind them, or looking down at their cool Nike shoes or the cool running pants that they have. They're not paying attention to the track ahead of them. And that's how people are going to get manipulated. And then when the government says, look, we should all just get along. Look, global government, it's a great thing. People don't see that evolutionary hurdle coming up that we're all going to jump, and they don't see it. So they say, oh, well, this must be the answer to violent crime and problems and everything else. Government, more government, because that's worked so far. Just a method of control.
I love government. It's there to help us.
Govern meant.
And could it actually? I mean, we never really get a chance to see what by the people, for the people. Actual people who want to do good, that actually get in those positions and do good, who are not corruptible. To actually have a system there of government, that is, a lot of people say all the time, you're anti-government, and you all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm anti-bad people being in the government, but I don't really know.
Well, I'm anti-government.
But I don't really know. I mean, we really don't know.
But that doesn't make me an anarchist, by the way. I'm just anti the word government, because the word government literally means. I'm not even talking about the concept of anarchy or anything like that. The word government literally means mind control. I'm not kidding. It's Latin. It's a verb and a noun. It means mind control.
But we never really had a chance to see. I mean, call it whatever.
I guess what you're saying is like they
overseeing, somebody who's like, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to represent these group of people who are here, who are they're doing their thing. They don't have time to do it. They entrust me to go up here and represent them. And there's this other group of people over here who are going to come up, they got their person who they want to represent them and talk for them, so we can, communicate around the world like we do. And actually, I don't think we've had a good enough people to actually see if any of these experiments, like a democracy, it's an experiment. We does it work? I don't know. We never really had a good chance to see if any of these different types of things work, because it's always been corrupt. Anarchy. I mean, if you look at anarchy, a lot of people think, it's just a bunch of people breaking up stuff, and there's anarchy and panic in the street, dogs sleeping with cats, and all that kind of stuff. But if you really read into some of that, like Emma Goldman, stuff like that. If you read or Prideaux, any of those cats, some of the concepts really make sense, and it's really not that anti-establishment, or anything like that. But it's all about the people being free. But how do you get 7 billion heads on the planet to be able to communicate to different groups and stuff like that? We've never really had an opportunity to see if any of these things could work because of the corruption.
Well, yeah, nothing ever gets a real true start. Not even this country.
It gets derailed before it starts.
It gets tainted, dude. Seriously, like it gets tainted. It literally gets destroyed before it even gets out of the gate. I mean, it'd be like if you went and bought a brand new car, Joe, and before you could even road test it, you decided to slash all 4 of your tires. And then you're like, okay, let's take it for a ride. Dude, you're going to destroy your rims. It's all good. This doesn't make any sense. We shoot ourselves in the feet, you know? Just pull out a double barrel shotgun and poof, poof. I don't need those toes.
There's no doubt. I mean, anarchism stands for the liberation of the human mind from the domination, the liberation of the human body from the domination of property, liberation from the shackles and restraints of government. It stands for a social order based on the free grouping of individuals. Now, that's Emma Goldman. I mean, the concept is pure, it's simple, it's true, and it leads to a rebellious fire. But ultimately, it's the same lessons that those cats, and I'm not an anarchist either. I've been told I was an anarchist plenty of times, and I'm really not. But the lessons that Goldman, Prideaux, and others have learned, that true freedom requires sacrifice and pain. Most human beings only think that they want freedom. In truth, they yearn for the bondage of social order, rigid laws, materialism. The only freedom that people really want is the freedom to become comfortable. And it's like, that's totally a certain side of anarchism that people don't know about it. They only get that bad side, but I'll talk about the whole thing conservative. I believe that, some conservatism is good. Some progressive type of thought is good. I think there's good things and a lot of things that are out there, but they're just so extreme that we really don't get to see, the effects of putting a lot of these things together for a functioning system that we could possibly make work, because we never had an opportunity, because it's all greed and power mongering and all this kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, imagine it for a second, how different this place would be and how far along we would be if there wasn't that corruption and manipulation. Like Joe, when we were talking about the free energy stuff.
Oh yeah,
we've talked about that off air a bazillion times, right? And all. I mean, like when
how could somebody not be interested in that?
Well, dude, floating cars, right? Remember we were talking about floating cars? The problem,
Mr. Fusion.
Right. Well, but the problem with floating cars is people can't handle 4 tires on the ground, let alone flying around. Right. When we laugh at that, because I laugh when I make that joke, right? But then when you look at that, and I know we use humor a lot, but like a lot of times when you sit back and you think about that, like on a more philosophical level. Well, there's a reason why people can't even handle 4 tires on the road. They've been dumbed down. I mean, imagine if humanity wasn't kept back, wasn't held back, rather than being held back, humanity was shown its true potential. Because everybody has the infinite potential. I don't care if you're tall, short, fat, thin, whatever. Everybody has infinite potential. It's what you put on yourself, the chains that you lock yourself up with, that will stop you from doing things. That comes from the programming that we receive from the time we come right out of the womb from our parents and everybody else around us, right? Well, in order to stop this cycling from repeating itself, we have to have these conversations and talk about this type of thing. We have to have these conversations where we talk about science, religion, base consciousness, if maybe the entire planet, maybe humanity actually getting along and not being Earth, the coolest reality TV show ever in the universe. I mean, do we have to be the Jersey Shore of the universe and perhaps the multiverse? Do we have to be labeled that? I don't think so. I think humanity is capable of much, much more than that. I don't think that we're just the equivalents of a universal reality show, and that we're nothing more than trash. I think humanity is meant for so much more. And until we actually can sit down and just put differences aside and stop being so, just mean-spirited to each other if we don't agree with each other, we're not going to evolve. We're not. You're not.
Imagine if what this world would be like if we could actually collaborate. I mean, with everything from science to technology to everything. I mean, there would be no cancer.
Nope.
I guarantee there would be no cancer. We would have the flying cars, and they would be going good. We'd probably,
would we have Mr. Fusion? I want Mr. Fusion. It must be part of the package.
Yeah, imagine. We can't even imagine what the world would be like if we could just all put that and we all could collaborate.
That would be awesome.
Oh man, it would. It really would.
And borders and everything aside, I mean, that's really kind of, I don't know. It's kind of inconsequential in the whole grand scheme of things. As long as we change and our consciousness evolves, I think we'll come to find out that borders aren't really much of anything at all.
Well, they're all just all that stuff comes from archetypes that are in our
Sure.
mind. So that kind of stuff, our government, the borders, all that stuff, they're just physical manifestations of archetypes. And until we understand this, once you start to look deeper, though, and you're not afraid to look into this, you're not afraid that you're going to burn in hell, right, or whatever. Once you're not afraid to look further into this, these are the kind of questions that you have, and it doesn't mean that you're bad or you're sinful or anything like that. It just means that you're using the very free thought that the Creator instilled into each and every one of us. We wouldn't have this magnificent computer called the human brain if we weren't meant to use it. It's that simple.
No, you're right about that, buddy.
And end of the show is sneaking up on us, guys.
Yes, it is.
Fast. Anyway, thanks for coming.
It was a fantastic night, man. And I'll tell you what, this all didn't come about in this one night. You know, Ken talking about it, me having Dr. Baldwin, and us talking about this tonight. It all came together. This wasn't planned. It happened for a reason.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I totally agree. With that, we're out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you all again live tomorrow night. Till then, we love you all. We're out.